see the whole world shaking, and you feel your heart is breaking. Take my hand, no hesitating. Oh, when you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel this, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel this, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
And here we are. Sorry that I was a little late. I just came with the wife. We went to see No Time to Die. Very good movie. Very good movie. A lot of action. Long, but if you don't mind Mr. Bond and you enjoy all his movies, it's not a long wait. Okay. So just making a couple adjustments here. It's getting darker so much earlier now. So trying to brand up the place a little bit. Okay. So it's October 9th, 2021. I hope you are all doing well. It was a rainy, cloudy day, and it was a good day to see a movie later on in the afternoon. And I rushed back and to do my weekly live stream podcast. All right. So we have a few things to talk about today. I hope you find the topics interesting. And one thing I want to start off with, a lot of news are reporting good things. And one of the good things is that the COVID numbers are going down, which is very, very good. And again, we should not relax. If you are not vaccinated, you should get vaccinated. It hasn't been that cold yet, but, well, in the South, it takes a little bit longer to get cold. Up north, by now, you're going to have the chilly nights, and people are not hanging out. I mean, it's a little after 7. I keep on saying a month ago, I was out swimming at the community pool that I belong to, and there was still plenty of sunshine. And a month later, a month and a week, I mean, it's 7 o'clock, it's completely dark. And as soon as we go off of daylight savings time, it's going to get darker even sooner. So we don't hang out that much. We're not outside in the fresh air. Um, and that's when, and then we have the cold coming in and people getting sick from the flu and the common cold. I also was vaccinated along with my wife the beginning of this week with the flu. We took the flu shots. So didn't have any type of reaction. I didn't feel queasy or sick the next day. I felt good. So hopefully everything is going well. But good news about our numbers going down. And if you've watched my podcast, I've always been saying as long as we follow this path of getting in control of this pandemic, the predictions we have for the economy and the real estate market should be good. All right. We're having some difficulties right now. And some of those difficulties are, just saw it on the news, where there are ships out in Los Angeles, in the waterways there, and they're waiting to come in and dock into Los Angeles. And there's all these goods there, mostly from China, waiting to come in. It's interesting how much we get from China. My wife and I, we actually bought a new ceiling fan this week. And knowing of the shortage there may be of Christmas decorations. And I got plenty of Christmas decorations, by the way. I don't need to buy anymore. But I just bought just 2 sets of multicolor bulbs, just in case to blow. I don't do this thing with trying to find where it's connected. It drives me nuts, and I'm not going to go crazy with that. These string of lights are only about $4. I just buy extra 2 boxes each year, just in case a couple go bad. And so I did that. But I looked at a couple of Christmas decorations, and I turned around this cute one that would have been nice on the mantelpiece. It was a Christmas church. And I turned it back and it says, from China. So a lot of these products that we like for decorations, I'm sure everybody probably by now has their Halloween decorations up. These all come from China, and we have a delay now in the supply chain. Again, with some people not going back to work, some companies are shorthanded because of people not going back to work, or they shut down, or many other things that might have happened during this pandemic time. The other big issue this week and was the jobs numbers report. It was lower than expected. Not that many jobs were being created. I think also maybe because a lot of these jobs are not being filled. And that's another issue we have to go across and deal with. And I know I'm going off topic with real estate, but the question is, are people staying home because they made good money with unemployment balance, especially with the enhanced unemployment payment? But I believe that stopped in most states. So you're not going to have that forever. So why are people also staying home? Because after a while, if you're relying on unemployment insurance, I'm assuming, you might not be top management, okay? All right? And it's not for everybody I'm saying this for, but if you're getting unemployment insurance, you're probably, from entry-level position to mid-level. And how long are you able to just survive, pay for your rent or your mortgage and your food or your other monthly payments on unemployment insurance that is not just regular unemployment insurance. It's not enhanced anymore. So so how are you getting by? That's my question. And after a while, I mean, maybe because of the pandemic and you weren't going out a lot, eating out a lot, and going on vacation, So you might have a little more money in the bank, but that's not going to last forever. So what's going to happen now? One um, idea, one hypothesis, okay, one opinion is that people with children, they realize that, well, if one parent could stay home and watch the kids, um, they're better off than having to pay for daycare and going for a minimum wage job, because they probably will end up either breaking even, or maybe the money that's made for the parent who's going to work and not watching the children, it may not even be enough to pay for daycare. And we need help with this, because daycare is very expensive. Thank goodness, when my wife and I had our children, it was when daycare wasn't too outrageous, but now it is. And it'll be nice to get help uh, for this. Okay. Now, is that a form of socialism? I don't know. I don't want to go into that, but um, we either have to raise the minimum wage, or or I mean, even $15 a month is not a lot. Okay, I mean $15 an hour is not a lot, and everybody's saying, who are against $15 an hour, they say, oh, then they'll just stay at that low entry job, and they won't try to move up and go into management and classes, but you're still just breaking even at $15 an hour. That $15 an hour should give you, all right, maybe I don't have to do a second job, and I'll take some classes now, and I'll see if my company has a management trainee program. But at $7.50 an hour, whatever, that's it really, with today's inflation. I remember when I was working in college and I had a summer job, and we used to go for lunch, and for $5 you got everything. You got a nice big corned beef hero, pastrami hero, with chips and a soda, and it might have been even less than $5. Now, you go to any store for lunch, and you're looking now at $10-12. So it's super expensive now. Just to, for instance, getting lunch during the day, during your work day. So the $15 an hour is good, and that's a good place to have a starting pay. But doesn't mean that once you make that $15, okay, I'm going to take it easy now. I'm not going to try to advance myself anymore. No, that's not going to happen. If anything, you would want to, you say, well, now I got on top of things. I don't have to do that second job, that third job. And now let me see if I could take a class, or, take a management trainee program. That's how I see it, and I'll give you an example. And again, I haven't touched on real estate yet, but I like it because this affects all of us. I was invited for breakfast by this person who wanted to talk to me about real estate and what's involved, and what they had to do. I was also teaching a real estate salesperson's course. I'm certified in that as well. And when I went to the restaurant, and this young lady picked up the tab, I was looking at the menu, and the prices were unbelievably low. Like a $5, you got your pancakes, you got eggs, you got home fries and coffee. And I said, how are they doing this? And the waitress and waiter industry, or whatever you call it, that's the last part of our working people that are able to get paid below the minimum wage because they receive tips. Now, if you're working at a nice restaurant in downtown Norfolk, where people very easily, a couple, which my wife and I have done that, has spent with a bottle of wine about $100 for dinner, and you want to leave a 20% tip, so you drop $20 here. So in the evening, if you got 3 or 4 tables and you're making $20 per table, an extra $80 is not bad. But not when you're working at a ham and egg joint, where the most they'll pay is $5, and they'll leave you a quarter or $1 if you're lucky, right? So we still have, and I believe, I mean, as far as I know, it's still there, because when I was getting people eligible, because back in the city, I did a lot of rentals, and I worked with a lot of people, young people who were working in restaurants, and they were making below the minimum wage, and they were making whatever it was, $3 or $4. It wasn't $7.50 at all. But they would. The reasoning behind that was because they were going to make good tips. And again, in some restaurants, you will make good tips, but not everywhere. Not everywhere. So that's an industry we really, if they wanted, it has to be more than $7.50. But if you want to make it $12 and leave it for the tips, but it has to be above at least the $10 range. Because, I mean, imagine a day if you worked 8 hours, and let's say it's full, you only made $32 a day. That's that's high school stuff. Someone who's renting an apartment, they can't do that. They can't do that. So I'm all for a $15 minimum wage, and you could disagree with me or whatever. If I have to pay a little bit more when I go out to eat, I'll pay a little bit more when I go out to eat. I once talked to a guy who, he said, when I go out to eat, if I have the money, I'll leave a tip. If I don't have the money, I just don't have it that night. I told him, well, that night you don't have money for a tip, you don't go out to eat. That's it. All right, because these people who are working it, young, old, middle-aged, there's a whole gamut of it. They work hard in those, bringing out the food, all those plates, dealing with nasty, nasty customers. I just realized my phone number was down. Okay. Like I said, you just don't go out to eat that night if you don't have money for a tip. Plain and simple. You run to Burger King, go to the drive-thru, McDonald's, whatever, but you don't go to a restaurant and sit down and not leave a tip. Okay? All right, so what are we going to talk about with real estate? Okay, let me do my little intro. All right. Okay. So that's what our topic is today. I mean, basically, how the supply and demand affects the real estate market, and where is it going and how it's going to look next year. And I'm just having a flashback uh, from the early Saturday Night Live characters, and there was Father Guido Santucci. And he wasn't really a priest, but he would go on, and he had this bit where he called it the 5-minute university. And he took each subject matter and and he just discussed the main topic of each subject. All right. And that was it. And that was his like 5-minute university. And when he went to economics, maybe for the next show, I'll find that clip maybe on YouTube. And he said, for economics, always remember that demand with a short supply will increase prices. Okay. So that's what we're having right now. And it might not have been exactly that. I know he did basically the buy demand and the selling side, but he just put it in a nutshell. And that's what we're having right now. We have a strong buyer demand with not that much inventory, but it's getting better. There are more people now putting their homes on the market because we're getting in control of COVID-19. Now, even with today's news that they're reporting, and not just today, but the last few days where COVID cases are going down, it's still high, but it looks like we might be getting in control of this, all right? And there's more sellers feel comfortable, with putting their homes on the market, all right? That will increase supply and there will be less competition, all right? Let's say about 6 months ago, there were maybe up to about 12 offers per house that went on the market, all right? And sometimes by the next day, they were in contract. Now it's about 4. I would say an average of 4. One that one of my buyers just received a ratified contract. I think there was just one other contract, but it's not as high. It's still a competition, but not as crazy as it was about 6 months ago. So there are more homes coming on the market. More buyers have choices. If this one house is not perfect, they say, okay, I could wait. 6 months ago, they said, well, it's not exactly what I want, but I'm not going to be able to find another house. So I'm going to put an offer on this. And a lot of times, again, when there's multiple offers, they'll go with, and they meaning the seller and the listing agent, will go with highest and best. All right. And I got to make a chart for this, but sometimes highest and best doesn't always mean the highest amount that they're offering. It could be one is not asking for any closing costs. And that deal will net the seller more money. Okay. Or it could be there's a lot of offers that are equal, but one is not requiring a home inspection. So there's not this delay time once the contract is ratified, right? Both buyers and sellers are in a mutual agreement, okay? If there's a home contingency is on it, meaning that we're going to do a home inspection, all right? Now there's a little bit of a delay. We have a ratified contract, but it's contingent upon a successful home inspection. Now, a successful home inspection doesn't mean that everything is going to be perfect in the house. It could mean that The home inspector, let's say, found 10 things wrong with it. We asked the seller to do those 10 things. The seller might come back, all right, I'll do 5 of those. Can you take care of these other 5? And we say, okay, we'll take care of the other 5. And we're in mutual agreement again. We have an accepted what's called a property inspection contingency removal addendum. And that home inspection contingency is off. And we go straight to closing. Now, why is that good for the seller? Well, number one, the buyer's not going to ask you to repair anything, right? Because then now you got to find it could be either a handyman if it's simple stuff throughout the house, doing some caulking, around the house, fixing some. There was a hole in the wall, or something to patch up. Could be a little bit more. It could be within the electrical box. There's one circuit that's double tapped. Then you got to bring in the licensed electrician to do that. So it gets a little more complicated. If there was something questionable with the HVAC system, now you have to bring in a licensed HVAC person to look at the unit to see if it's working properly, and now you got these other headaches. And yourself, by the way, I had this one home inspector, like everything that had been done, they said a licensed contractor. Even it was like a little patch in the wall, put a little caulk, everything has to be licensed. And most people could find like a handyman who's not a contractor or a class A contractor to to do it. Some caulking could be done by Joe Schmo. They just want it done. But when you go to the big things, when you really need a professional, because HVAC systems, you need a professional to go in there to make a repair. Anything dealing with electricity, you need a professional to go into there. Anything dealing with foundation problems, you need a professional to go in there. Someone patching up something, someone fixing a gutter that has to be tightened, doesn't need, in my opinion, a Class A contractor. All right. So avoiding this home inspection, going back to that, is a headache that's taking away from the seller. But I would never recommend to my buyer to forego the home inspection unless they have lots and lots of money. See, on this, I don't have the echo one. If you have lots and lots of money, if you have $30,000 to replace a complete heating and air conditioning system, okay. But if especially after your sale, putting your down payment down, paying closing costs, you may not have the money for putting in a whole HVAC system or putting in a new roof. So I recommend, and what a lot of people are doing now, is that the home inspection is for informational purposes only. So if you go in there and you find out that the HVAC system is on its last legs, and you say, no, I don't want to bother with that, I'm not going to do it, and then you ask to be released from the contract, has to be done within a certain time period, and you get your earnest money deposit back. So you should always do a home inspection. Okay. So, and I'm seeing that more now. When, again, going back about 6 months when I was looking for properties for my buyers, and all of a sudden I would look at properties that went on, let's say, the market like 10/6, October 6th, and October 9th it was already pending. This is how I know there was no home inspection on it, because it could be ratified and I see that there's a contingency on it, and usually it says home inspection is being done. But when it goes straight from newly listed to pending, I know they forego the home inspection, but it's not a good idea. So let's look. I've been talking a lot. My goodness. Let's get my graphic up here. Okay. How does supply and demand tell us about today's housing market? All right. So let's scroll down a little bit. And right on the top here, there's a well-known economic theory. Let me get my little highlighter. Of supply and demand that explains what happens with prices in the current real estate market. Put simply, when demand for an item is high, prices rise. When the supply of this item increases, prices fall. Of course, when demand is very high and supply is very low, prices can rise significantly. And that's what's happening right now. Okay? So why are prices rising? According to the latest Home Price Insights reports from CoreLogic, home prices have risen 18.1% since this time last year. But what's driving those increases? And again, it's going down without reading every single thing here. It's again with the amount of buyers and the amount of homes on the market. And two, why are all these qualified buyers there right now? Well, because for about a year and a half, people were not spending money on vacations with going out. They weren't going to football games. They weren't going to shows. So they had a lot of money in the bank. Okay, so let's go back to here. So, and they said, well, let me use this house. I mean, let's use this extra money now to purchase a home. And if it needs work, I'll do it. Okay. So I'll do my home inspection, but if it needs repairs, I'll take care of that. Now, the question is next now, what's going to happen with this with prices going ahead? Now, in my own readings, the supply of homes will greatly affect where prices head over the coming months. Many forecast prices will continue to increase, but they'll likely appreciate at a slower rate. Buyers hoping to purchase the home of their dreams may see this as welcome news. In this case, perspective is important. A slight moderation of home prices does not mean prices will depreciate or fall. Price increases may occur at a slow pace, but experts still expect them to rise. And here's the predictions from the mortgage banking industry, from Freddie Mac. I got to look up what the HPES is, but Fannie Mae and the National Association of Realtors. It goes up from 6.2% down to 4.4%, with an average of 5.2%. Now, this is what I have one buyer who was working with me, and I think he will still continue to work with me at the beginning of the year, and he just got upset with the prices being so phenomenally high. And he said, I'm just going to wait. It's just outrageous. And with the multiple offers. But the thing is, and again, if you've been listening to Real Estate with Mr. G for the last year and a half, what we're talking about now, even with the graphs that I showed you, if everything goes as planned, okay, if we get out of this pandemic and we work out our problems with employment and with the supply chains, this is what will happen. And we'll see prices will rise, but they won't go higher than about 5.2%. From last year's was 18.1%. That's a lot. But as long as we follow this path, they're not going down. Okay? As long as we get control of everything, we get out of the pandemic, we get people back to work, and getting people back to work is going to help also with the movement of our goods from the ports, right? And for items to be manufactured from logs being broken down to be made into wood to 2x4s for building homes, we will have strong economic growth. So if you're waiting for them to drop, I'm going to tell you right now, and when I say drop, I mean prices. Most likely that's not going to happen, okay? Most likely that will not happen. So if you want to buy, it's actually better now than even waiting much longer. And as a realtor, we always want people to buy now, to sell now. We very rarely say, "Oh no, wait," because we want our commissions. But in this situation, it's really true. It really is, because those home prices are not going to come down, most likely, and most likely interest rates will go up as well. So the house that you see now, let's say for $300,000, and that you might be able to get for 2.75%. By next year, that same house might be, and let's say 10%, maybe $315,000 by the spring of next year, with a higher interest rate. So definitely, without question, your mortgage payment will be higher. Okay? All right. That's enough. That's enough of that. I talked a lot. You're probably saying, when is this guy going to keep quiet? So let me show you my little. This is a little video, just to break up a little bit, on 4 tips of buying a home, especially going on to next year. So a lot of good ideas. Well, 4 tips on preparing to purchase a home going next year. Remember, and you see my page on my blog for resource materials, and we have let's see if I got this right. Things to consider when buying a home for fall of 2021. Also, things to consider when selling your house, fall 2021 edition. All right, and these are updated quarterly. So I probably in January will have a winter one. All right, so that's on my blog site. I have a website and then the blog site with all my very interesting articles, and I'm having it's. Oh, by the way, I got a special email from WordPress, and my blog site has been viewed 5,000 times, which I think is pretty good. Um, and that's a lot of people viewing it. I'm getting people sending me articles from Bankrate, from money.com to post on my website. And another one came in this week. I forgot where it was from. And so it's getting a lot of coverage. I'm happy about that. My question is, should I start charging a subscription? I don't know. So for the near future, no. I think I'll keep it the way it is. But who knows? Maybe I'll just let the money come back in from the block, and just sit back and enjoy. But right now it's free, okay? And I'm probably going to keep it free anyway. Though my wife doesn't want me to keep it free. She said, "Why don't you make money from it, for crying out loud?" So let's see. What do I have? So I hear from my producer William Burgess that we might have a celebrity in the audience.
Yes, great news. We have a famous celebrity in the audience. He is a Spanish ventriloquist and comedian. His popularity grew with his frequent television appearances on CBS, The Ed Sullivan Show during the 1950s and 1960s. Later, he became popular with another generation of fans on The Muppet Show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Senior Wences.
All right. It was nice seeing him again. The last time I remember seeing him was the Ed Sullivan Show. All right. I think I did everything I want to do tonight. Remember, be kind to each other. If you have not been vaccinated, please do. And if you're not vaccinated, when you go out, and hopefully to the time you get vaccinated, wear your mask, wash your hands. I already said be kind to each other. And remember, the greatest power we have is to love. And the greatest gift is each other. And I'll see you next week.